Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Evolvepreneur Secrets Show for entrepreneurs, and I'm your host, Brian Silverthorne. And it's always my mission to help entrepreneurs make the difference they want to make in their business and also to help them navigate the sometimes messy worlds of startup and growth or relaunch. And we're going to dig deep today with our guest and get you some great concepts and strategies to fast track your business. And our special guest today is Steven Adjei, and Steven's a British Ghanaian author, poet, healthcare consultant, and entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, Steven.
Thank you, Brian. I'm a big fan of the show, and it's a privilege to be able to contribute. Thank you.
Great. Happy to have you on as a guest. Why don't we start out by telling everybody where you're hanging out today?
Okay, so I'm in the lovely Plymouth, which is the southwest of England. It's a lovely, quaint, quiet city by the sea. It's a lovely place. It's away from the hustle and bustle of London. So yeah, that's where I am, and I love it. I've been here for 2 decades now, and I have no intention of going anywhere else.
Oh, good. Great. So we're going to get started here now, and we're going to do this in 10 minutes or less and have some fun while we're doing it. So the first question, what made you decide to get into this particular business?
Yeah, so I trained as a pharmacist in Ghana. So I was born in England, but I went back to Ghana with my parents when I was 5 years old. I got all my education in Ghana and qualified to be a pharmacist in Ghana. I worked there for just a couple of months, and I came back to England and worked as a pharmacist. But as an entrepreneur, you always have this knocking thing telling you you need to do more. So I got married in Plymouth, had my kids, but then after 3 or 4 years, I began to feel uncomfortable. So I went to business school and did an MBA, and then I founded a company called Blue Cloud Health, which specializes in investments in Africa, and that's where my journey began, Brian.
So you took your background and training as a pharmacist and turned it into an entrepreneurial business.
Precisely. That's precisely it.
Good for you. So who is your ideal client?
So in Blue Cloud, we do 4 things. So the first thing that we do is we incubate companies. So in Africa, things are big with oil, with natural resources, but healthcare is a bit of it's not as glamorous, but it's needed, obviously. So and the trouble with healthcare is there's what we call the missing middle. Africa is getting more and more prosperous, so but a lot of the investments go into the high end, which is like the 5-10 million above, and a lot of charity work goes into the low end. But the missing middle is where people earn between maybe $5,000 to about $30,000 a year, and there was no one. At the time we started, there was no one catering for that missing middle. So that's where we decided to go in, for want of a better word. So we incubate companies. We went in there, looked for companies that are serving that missing middle, and they tend to be pharmacies, small clinics, centers for diagnostics, and stuff like that. And they are very scalable, and their price points are just right for the middle class. So that's where we decided to pitch our tents.
Well, excellent. So I like that term, the missing middle. That's actually a common situation in a number of different areas.
Yes.
So that applies very well.
Yes.
So what's the biggest problem you solve for your ideal client?
Yeah, so I did a lot of research during my MBA, and we did identify that there's a missing middle. But what we got wrong in the beginning was that the investment world was not ready for the middle Africa, because PE firms and investment firms are set up to make the maximum amount of money in the shortest possible time. So for this missing middle, which are these companies in the middle, they need a lot of hand holding, a lot of incubation. So it took us a very long time to make any headway. It took us about 10 years actually to make any headway at all, because we incubate these companies, we present them to PE firms, and then we got nowhere. And after a long time, we realized that it was because PE firms in the UK, Dubai, US, and even in Africa were not really set up in a way where they could deploy funds of below £1 million. They were set up to deploy funds of £5 million and above. So that was a real challenge. And through then we went through a lot of issues. We lost a lot of money. I self-sabotaged a lot, made a lot of mistakes. So in the 10-year period, it was very tough. Nearly gave up, actually. But out of that, that's how I became an author, because I realized that the entrepreneurship journey that we learned in school, in business school, and all the books I'd read by Jim Collins and all these big guys was not exactly what was happening on the real world. So that made me an author. It forced me to become an author. I thought I need to write a book for the real life, what entrepreneurship looks like. So that's what led me to become an author. So even though that 10 years was a period in the desert, it was very tough.
Yeah, well, any entrepreneurial venture when you're first getting started is very tough.
Yeah.
So we're doing good. We got about 5 minutes left. So before a client reaches out to you for help, they're obviously experiencing some symptoms which causes them to seek help. So what are the symptoms your clients usually are experiencing?
So typically, another thing that we do in Blue Card as well is market entry. So like I said to you before, Africa is getting a lot richer. So people now want quality medicines. People want good stuff. So people typically reach out to us when they need access to markets in the US, access to markets in the UK or in Europe. And then also companies reach out to us, like I said to you about the missing middle. So they reach out to us when they are struggling to get finance for that, or operational finance to move to the next step in their journey for entrepreneurship. So that's where they reach out to us as well. Or simply when they need help, operational help, or help with strategy. So these are the things where they reach out to us. Yeah.
Great. So when you get started working with your clients, what's the most common mistakes you find that they're making?
I think, and that's what I want in the book. I think people don't really take their time to establish what the business is about. They don't. They just find a gap and just jump into it without really taking their time. So we realize that a lot of it, we have to go back to basics. So their foundations are weak. They don't really understand what the business is about. They just saw this hole or this gap, jumped into it without really taking their time. So, but paradoxically, the business seems to grow because there's a gap, but it gets to a point where you need some skills. You need some stuff that they didn't get time. They didn't really spend time building, and that's when they get stuck. And that's where we try to come in to help.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of people that get stuck regularly out there. So that's good that you offer that help. So if someone's considering to reach out to you for that help right now, what's one step that they could take or something they could begin doing that'll put them on the right path? Won't solve all their problems, but it'll get them started.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I thought being an author helps, because you can reach a lot of people out through your books. You can't always, even though there's such a huge need. I mean, this brand in entrepreneurs that 90% of entrepreneurs fail within their first 10 years. It's very difficult to reach every single entrepreneur face to face or on the phone so I figured that's what you're doing, Brian, as well with your podcasts. That you better off reaching a lot of people through media. And I obviously you've chosen the podcast, I've chosen the book. So we're trying to get a lot of people out through that, through writing, through talking to in podcast, and people that really need help can reach out to us directly on our websites, Blue Cloud Health or stevenadjei.com, and then we can take them through a one-to-one coaching period or whatever they need.
Okay, so it's bluecloudhealth.com if they want to get to you.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we've been talking about it. We know all entrepreneurs experience challenges along the way, even those that have reached some level of success.
Yep.
So what is the biggest challenge right now that you're dealing with in your business?
Okay. So for me, I talk about pain in entrepreneurship, and I figure that's where a lot of it gets brushed under the carpet. We talk about failure, we talk about pain, we talk about struggle. And I codified pain into four categories: red, amber, green, and white. And red pain is what I call self-sabotage. That's what entrepreneurs we do to ourselves. Things go bad, and then we go into bad habits. Alcoholism, gambling, pornography, overeating, not exercising, not reading, all that stuff. And I call that red flag pain. And then there's the amber flag pain, which I listened to today with one of your Dan Laser when we talk about real estate. Amber flag pain is the pain of waiting. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we just have to wait. You've put in the bid, you've put in the pitch. The market is not ready. You just have to wait, and I call the amber pain. And then there's also green pain, or green flag pain, which I call that because a lot of us give up because people say things to us that are not true. You're never going to make it. You're not good enough. Blah blah blah, all that stuff. Or the market's not ready for you, and then you give up. And the final thing I want to talk about is white flag pain, which is the pain of the unfairness of life. You know, I mean, for me, in my case, I had a fit one day. I was driving. I got epilepsy. I was never able to drive again. I got really, really ill. I've had 2 car accidents, and that's unfair. But that happens to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So for all entrepreneurs, these are the 4 kinds of pain that we all go through. And I try to categorize in the book so that when people come to me with problems, we say, okay, right, what kind of pain are you going through? What's the cause of the pain? Is it a red flag pain? Is it something are you self-sabotaging? Is it green flag pain? Are people talking to you in things that are not true? Is it amber flag pain? Is it pain of the markets? Are you too late or too early for the markets? Or is it white flag pain? Is it unfairness of life? Do you happen to live in a poor community, or do you have an illness, or have you had something that's happened to you that's making you this way? So once you're able to categorize this kind of pain to people, the people say, "Oh, aha, this is the problem," and then obviously there's the solution is much easier. So that for me, that pain that I went through in my journey has now become a focal point for me to help other people.
I like those. I haven't heard that particular view of it before with the 4 focal points, but it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got about a minute left here. So is there a question I should have asked you but didn't get around to asking?
No, not really. But it's amazing what we've covered in 10 minutes. We've obviously talked about the business, about the book, about pain. So no, I think you've nailed it down very well. I'm very impressed. And in 10 minutes, you'll be able to do everything that you set out to do. So no, I'm good, and I think you've done a fantastic job. 10 minutes.
Great. Well, then that seems to be a perfect place to end it. So that's a wrap on another great guest episode of the Evolvepreneur Secrets Show for entrepreneurs. And just before you leave, if you like it, please give us a 5-star review and consider sharing it with a few people to spread the word. And if you want to make sure you can catch back episodes or be ready for all future episodes, go to the evolvepreneursecrets.show. And if you're an entrepreneur and you got a great idea in your head, let's get it out there today.